All right, we'll call to order Bedford Township Board of Zoning Appeals, regular meeting for September 12th. First, we'll do the introduction of members and representatives. We'll start all the way to my right.
Jody Rector, Planning and Zoning.
Phil Goldsmith, Township Attorney.
Katrina Ingram, Planning and Zoning.
Dennis Kohler, Building Official.
Brad Helm, Planning Member.
Jake Lake, BZA Chair.
Kyle Durst, Vice Chair.
Jeff Wilson, BZA member.
Joe Gore, Trustee, Township Representative.
All right, now I'll ask that all stand for the pledge. Pledge of
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Rector, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mr. Gore.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mr. Dersch.
Aye.
Mr. Helm.
Here.
Mr. Lake.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Next, we'll do approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Go ahead and recommend that we approve tonight's agenda.
I'd second that.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
We have all ayes. Next, we'll do the approval of the minutes of our August 8th meeting. If any were present, if you wouldn't mind making a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. We approve the minutes of the August 8th meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All right, we have no nays. Next, we'll move on to new business. First will be a public hearing regarding the appeal of John S. and Anissa L. Yoder about a height variance for an accessory building. So first, I'll look to see if anyone would like to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing regarding the appeal of John S. and Nessa L. Yoder.
I'll support that.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is open. Ms. Rector, if you wouldn't mind.
Again, the applicant is John S. and Anissa L. Yoder, 1158 West Samaria, Temperance, Michigan. Parcel number 5802-465-00210 on approximately 0.94 acres. R2A in located single-family residential located within the Samaria Village Overlay District. The request is a 4.24 height variance. History: on June 6th, the applicant was granted a 2-foot height variance. While the discussion was on a 6-foot wall height, additional information was submitted with the building permit, and the building official determined the overall mean height would be 18 feet 24 inches, thus the request for an overall 4.24 height variance. I included the minutes from the previous meeting the gentleman was, the applicant was at. There are no further changes to the request. The applicant is seeking to construct a 30 by 60, 1,800 square foot and 16-foot wall height accessory building. Per section 419.03 accessory buildings, a parcel having more than 0.5 acres permitted a square foot of 2,500 square feet in area and a maximum of 14 feet in height. The applicant states the restriction by ordinance of 14 feet in height creates a hardship for the storage of his camper. At this time, there have been no letters or calls of objection to the request, and on May 11th, the applicant sought and was granted from the Planning Commission to approve the location of the accessory building in the side yard. Should the variance be granted, the variances are required a 4.24 height variance. Just to give a little bit more of the background, once the actual drawings were submitted and Mr. Kohler reviewed them, the determination was made. It was actually just a misinterpretation and misunderstanding between the applicant and the departments when the original request was submitted. The applicant has since talked to his neighbors again, and I believe tonight he did bring another letter with their signatures of the surrounding parcels, provided that they are now aware of the increase in the height request.
All right. Thank you. We have the applicant here. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, sir. Oh. I went ahead and got, just so that they were all on the same page. My neighbors went ahead and signed another piece of paper, saying I'm putting a 14-foot door, 16-foot wall height, and an 18-something mean height. So they were all good with that. So I got that in writing.
Anybody like to see that?
Oh, and just for the record, you have to state your name and address.
I'm sorry, Shane Yoder. I'm sorry, John Shane Yoder. I go by Shane, but John.
All right. Let's see. First, I'll open up the public comment. I think we have the other applicants in the audience. Any public comment? didn't think so. We can close the public hearing if anyone would like to make a motion.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd second that.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All right, public hearing is closed. Any questions for the applicant or Ms. Rector?
So real quick, they were already granted 2 foot. They just want an additional 2 foot for a total of 4 foot, or?
Yes, the board did grant them the 2-foot height variance. However, it was a change in the request, so it had to be republished, notices resent out because the request had changed. But yes, the board did grant the 2-foot height variance.
Okay.
I think the sidewalls are the same.
The discussion at the meeting was for the same size building he wanted to build. It's just that in the minutes when I was going through the building permit, I needed more than 2 feet. I needed 4 feet, 4.5 feet. So he wants to build the same barn as he had before. But
Yeah. So Dennis, the sidewalls are the same, the doors
Correct.
the same, the dimensions.
we just didn't request the proper variance at the last meeting.
Right, right.
To the group, any other questions, thoughts, or
Do
discussion?
we have to go through additional practical difficulty or anything like that, or?
Same practical difficulty that applied at the last meeting would apply at this meeting. Really, like Dennis said, the structure hasn't changed except for the additional, 2.42 feet
Yes.
in height, so minor, but the same practical difficulty that was enunciated by the board at the last meeting would equally apply, I think. And the whole purpose is so that he can store his camper. And if I remember right, we had the normal discussion about, you can't run a business out of the building. It's for personal use only. You remember that?
Absolutely,
So-
absolutely, yes. And I told my neighbors that too as well. It's for storing my equipment, my cars.
All right. Seeing that, is anyone prepared for a motion?
I'll go ahead and run with it. So I'll make a motion that we grant the variance, the applicant granted the 4 foot, make sure, the 4.24 foot height variance, the property located at 1158 West Mary Road, Temperance, Michigan, property number 5802465002-10. And we'll use the same practical difficulties as the previous meeting.
I'll second.
Ms. Rector, if you'd call the roll.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Helm?
Aye.
Mr. Dersch?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Yoder.
Well, thank you guys for your time. Have a great evening. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next public hearing, and that is the appeal of Mr. Cotton for property 2955 West Temperance Road, requesting a variance for a 4-foot fence to enclose a pool, or not have a fence 100 feet from a pool. I'll look for a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
In favor, state aye.
Aye.
All right, Ms. Rector?
Again, the applicant is Mark Cotton, 2955 West Temperance, 5802-020-02640 on approximately 9.914 acres, Ag 2, secondary agricultural, rural residential. The applicant is seeking to install an in-ground pool where the entire perimeter of the property is enclosed by a 4-foot, 3-split rail fencing, and where the driveway has an automatic electric gate for access. While the 4-foot split rail fencing encloses the entire perimeter of the property, it does not meet the requirements of Section 400.900, number 14F included, for the protection of the general public or the required 100-foot distance for the installation of a pool. The applicant has noted in the letter, due to the proximity of the neighboring homes, which are both located in front of his home and approximately over 600 feet from the location of the pool, to install another fence around the pool would just be redundant. The applicant stated he would be installing a lithium fully automatic pool cover meeting ASTM standards for safety covers. As swimming pools with a powered safety cover complies with the ASTM F1346 is an exception to the required barrier code, by the required building barrier code. However, it does not comply by ordinance. Thus, the variance requests of the 4-foot fence requirement from the ordinance to allow the automatic pool cover to serve as protection of the general public as provided in Section 305 of the 2015 International Building Code, exception requirement for swimming pools and spas. At this time, no letters or calls of objection have been received. Should consideration be given to the request, the following is required. A variance of a 4-foot fence requirement where such enclosure shall be located not more than 100 feet distance from the swimming pool to install an in-ground pool with the lithium fully automatic powered safety cover meeting the ASTM standards for safety cover specifications per the 2015 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code per Section 305 barrier requirements for exceptions for swimming pools and spas.
Thank you. Mr. Cotton, is there anything you'd like to add? Okay. We'll ask Mr. Steinman, do you have any public comment? We're good there. All right, we did our checks. Let's look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
I'd second that.
In favor, say aye.
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 All right, public hearing is closed. Open for any discussion? Any questions?
So we talked briefly, we crossed this bridge not too long ago with another one. I know we're not comparing apples to apples, but I think the question arises, is the township under any liability if we grant the variance and somebody gets hurt on the property because we gave them permission not to have the fence around the pool?
Well, when people start filing suits, a lot of attorneys will use the shotgun approach, and I'm not going to tell you that you might not be sued if an event occurred which resulted in a serious injury or death. However, a granting of the requested variance could be and really must be conditioned on the installation of this automatic pool cover. And you might want to ask some questions of the applicant, or maybe Dennis knows, not to put you on the spot, what type of cover is this? Will it support a human being walking across it? Is it that strong? Does it meet building code requirements? I think Dennis is shaking his head yes, so maybe he could tell us a little more about this cover based on his knowledge and expertise. If that would be the condition, that if you've got a fence that surrounds the perimeter of the property, so there's barrier number one. So what you're really doing is replacing the fence that would be closer around the perimeter of the pool with this automatic cover. And quite frankly, if you think about it, if the automatic cover is used when the pool's not in use and there's no one out there, it's probably safer than having a 4-foot fence around the perimeter of the pool, because 4-foot fences can be easily scaled by children. So maybe Dennis can comment on with his thoughts on this.
Yeah, the power safety covers, you can walk across them, but it's an automatic safety cover. They hit a switch and it closes it, so it's contained. He might know more specs about his particular cover, but his fence going all the way back in the woods, he's got a fence, but it's so far away from the pool. So he was going to put the wire on the outside of the fence, and to me it's kind of crazy because of how far it is. Most places I would say that you need a fence, but when you stand in his backyard, you are not by any other properties even close. And both neighbors it's built up on both sides. So unless he splits his own property, it'd be the only person that would build again around the area. So,
Well, and I agree it's redundant to put a fence around something that's already got a fence around it.
yeah.
I mean,
Is this the same, do we remember, just because I think last time we actually maybe had some, a brochure or a pamphlet or something. Was this, does anybody recall if this was the same brand?
It's similar to that, yeah.
Yeah.
But that guy was so far back, he was a half mile off the road.
Right.
But still the same ideas here.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the only thing we required on that is, since it's not self-locking, we did require some sort of accidental entry device, so no one did get into it and drown without notifying the owner that someone was in it. Because the ordinance does say it needs to be self-locking and latching from the inside, so it's supposed to be an automated way of keeping people out that you can't forget. In the spirit of it.
Yeah, what, was there some sort of device that was placed in the pool so that if there was a disturbance in the water, that an alarm would go off if the cover wasn't on?
Correct. There was some sort of, accidental entry device for children, mainly, I think is what it's aimed for, and pets.
So now I remember, so I think the board attached as a condition that that device be installed in addition to the automatic cover, just as a fail-safe, that if the cover was open and somebody turned their head for a moment, or if somebody went in the house for dinner and somebody ventured out there, at least an alarm would go off to alert the owner that somebody perhaps had fallen into the pool. So, good point.
What would we use for practical difficulties?
For practical difficulties, I think the one thing you can talk about is the fact that there's already a fence that's 4 foot tall. It's just not 100, it's not within 100 feet of the pool.
Right.
Or where the pool's going to be built.
You have a 4-foot fence already around it and a locking electric gate at the driveway.
Right. The other thing we talked about last time was the ordinance was written before these types of covers were created. So I think that was another piece. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to recall, I don't know if we talked about that, Ron, if the ordinance were written when these covers became available, could it have been written into the ordinance? And the question is, maybe it could have. So that was a practical difficulty I think we came up with.
Yeah, it could have been an either or, and maybe that's something to look at down the line. And that's why I asked Dennis whether this complied with building code requirements, that either you have a fence or you have this automatic cover. An automatic cover, if used properly, would, in my mind, be safer than a fence.
Agreed.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think in the merits of the last issue that came up about this is it could be an either-or scenario. This cover's probably more aesthetically pleasing in some cases and a nicer installation than a fence could be.
Looking at the aerial photo of the property, the pool sits so far back off the road and away from everybody else. I mean, you wouldn't even know there was a pool back there. Be different if you were in a subdivision with kids next door and everything like that. Sorry, I'm getting ready to get yelled at again. It's a different story, but looking at it here, I mean, holy cow, it's quite a ways off the road and quite a ways away from neighbors, and so I think what he has now is sufficient. The fence, the electric gate, and now a automatic pool cover.
So it sounds like we're at a place where we're ready for a motion. Is anyone prepared?
I'll go ahead and take a shot at it. I'll go ahead and recommend we approve the variance presented for the 4-foot fence requirement as presented below with the 100-foot distance to install the fully automated power safety cover meeting the requirements of the ASTM standard reference in lieu of the fencing at the subject property 2955 West Temperance, with the practical difficulty being that there is a fence on the property already, although it is more than 100 feet away. The installation of this cover would be redundant to installing another fence around the pool at that point, and essentially serves the same purpose and intent that the ordinance and building code require.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have support?
Support.
Instructor, if you'd call.
Do you need anything else?
I didn't know he wanted to add the water safety device.
Apparently he didn't. So.
I was going to leave that open to the rest of the team to discuss.
Is any friendly amendments?
I know we required it previously. I don't remember the exact merits off the top of my head of why we required it, if there was a children situation perhaps, but
Does this pool cover come with anything like type of alarm or anything like that, or you don't know, right?
Well, the other way you could look at it this as well, there's already a fence. No, in the previous case, there was no fence.
Right, there's already fence, there's a locking gate, so.
The only thing they told me that there has to be is like an actual key. It can't be remote or from your phone. You have to have a key to turn it, to open it and close it. That, I guess, is the safety.
Okay, and it's locked and secured then?
Yeah, it would be, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
with a box.
Yeah, somebody else got yelled at today.
My bad.
So they just told me that it had to be high enough that a child couldn't open or close, that it would be up with a physical key that you would take out, so there wouldn't be a way to open or close it without the key.
Is it by the pool then? I mean, or
Probably 15, 20 feet away, I think, is where we're
right,
going to
so
put
it's
it.
not, you're not, I guess when I first thought about it, I was wondering, like, is there the potential that the pool's going to be, whatever, 100 yards back from the house, and somehow inadvertently somebody hits a button like a garage door opener, right, and opens it on an accident? And this, what you're saying here, right, is, I mean, you purposely are going to be standing here, and the pool is by that chair, and you're going to open and close, right? So, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it's good with what he had.
All right, so we're ready.
Okay. Mr. Dersch.
aye.
Mr. Gore.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Helm.
Yes.
Mr. Lake.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. Good luck, Mr. Cotton. All right, we'll move on to the next public hearing, and that is appeal of Timothy and Stephanie Steinman on property 8115 Douglas Road, requesting a variance to construct an accessory building to be located in their front yard. I'll look for a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
None opposed. So, Ms. Rector, if you will.
Again, the applicants are Timothy and Stephanie Steinman, 8115 Douglas Road, Lambertville, Michigan. Vacant land, west side of Douglas Road, south of Dean Road. Parcel number 5802-029-0902 on approximately 2.586 acres, R2B single-family residentially zone. A variance to allow an accessory building to be built in the front yard. The applicant is seeking to construct an accessory building to be located in the front yard in conjunction with a new dwelling on a recently created vacant parcel. The subject site consists of approximately 2.586 acres with 195.505 feet of frontage on Douglas Road. Due to the irregularity of the parcel, the applicant's intent is to build the dwelling to the west of the accessory building to the east, thus to provide a buffer to the rear of the two parcels with existing homes located on Douglas Road. However, by ordinance, the proposed location is considered a front yard from the section line road. Per section 419.03(4), accessory building table, accessory building shall not be erected in any minimum side yard setback nor in any front yard. Thus, the variance request to allow an accessory building to be constructed in the front yard. There is a flood zone area located on the front of the parcel on Douglas Road, which runs to the south side of the parcel to the west, then north, and we did include that map. The applicant has indicated in his submitted letter the proposed accessory building will have no adverse effect on any of the neighboring properties due to the irregular shape of the property, flood zone area, close proximity to the neighboring homes. The applicant indicates their option is the best location for the accessory structure. The applicant has been advised both permits for a dwelling and the proposed accessory building will be required to be submitted at the same time for review and approval, as an accessory building is not permitted by ordinance on a vacant parcel. The applicant has determined to seek the variance before submitting for a building permit for the home to obtain a determination if the proposed location of the accessory structure in the front yard would be granted. At this time, no letters or calls of objection have been received. And if you look at the actual sketch that the applicant provided of the land division, the survey, when I say the section line road, the 195 feet of frontage on the south side of the created parcel, you can see where the applicant is proposing the new home on the west side, and then the proposed location to the east on behind the two homes that are existing will be the proposed location for the accessory building. But since it is in front of the home and in front, which is considered the section line road is his frontage, the accessory building is considered in the front yard.
All right. Mr. Simon, is there anything you'd like to add? All right. And seeing there's no public, I'll assume there's no public comment. So I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All right. So, I had a question around the floodplain. Is that, it looks, I'm inferring here based on the design here. If I look at, gosh, what page is this? Page 33, it's got the drawing of the property. If I look at what Zone A is, that looks like an overlay of the FEMA floodplain. And it looks like the Salter drain is why there's an angular shape to the property. So if that's the case, this is a unusual shaped lot. And in my opinion, the position of the accessory building and where the house are, yeah, would you really call it the front yard? I would debate that based on the way the house is going to be oriented, the shape of the lot, and the floodplain. I mean, honestly, you can't build right on Douglas Road because you're in the floodplain. You're not going to build a house there, so I'm not sure where you do that with the shape of the lot in the flood zone.
If I'm looking at the map correct, so the proposed barn would be technically in his front yard, but butting up to the backyard of 8125 Douglas Road?
Correct.
Yes.
That is correct.
That's correct.
That's the
think it's-
rear
There
of
actually
those
was a
homes.
barn
That's
there
the rear of
before.
those homes.
Those homes are all frontage on Douglas Road.
Okay.
Right.
And I guess the nuance of this property is its access is Douglas Road,
Is
which makes
Douglas.
that the front,
Right.
regardless of what's going on around it, which it, being behind those homes like that, I could definitely see the merits of wanting to have some separation and
Right.
facing south instead of facing someone else's backyard potentially.
What does the neighbors at 8125 Douglas Road think? If they're going to be staring out their backyard right into a pole barn?
They would have received a public notice, and I heard no comments back.
Okay.
I guess it's no different than, you know, if you have a neighbor right in a regular neighborhood where both of your garages, I mean, I guess if you go to the back, you look at the back of your neighbor.
Neighbor's garage.
Sorry.
The way I would look at this and think about this piece of property is it's almost the way it's shaped and the way you have to build on this. It's almost like a corner lot where you've got two front yards.
I would tend to agree with that. Yeah, it's one of the more unique ones I think we've seen in a while.
No, quite honestly, I think this is in keeping with the reason we have BZA because of properties that are shaped like this. This is really where, you know, you would want to use a judgment call. All right. Do we have any questions or comments for staff or the applicant?
I guess one question is, the only access to that property is to traverse the creek through the floodplain towards Douglas Road? I mean, there's no other easements or anything granted through the other properties for access, is kind of what I'm asking.
Yeah, no. The driveway is down the side of the creek.
Okay.
So the property line is that creek.
There's an easement from the Drain Commission, 49 and a half feet
Yes.
from the center of the
But you're not accessing it through the existing property or the parcel to the north?
No.
There's a 99-foot access from the center of the creek that to the Monroe County Drain Commissioner. So that that dictates where you can build. You can't build within that. It's 99 from the center, so it goes an equal distance from the center of the creek. That's generally what the Drain Commissioner's easements are. Plus, as the chairman said, there is the floodplain or floodway. I'm not sure which which it is, if it's a floodway or a floodplain. It's not identified on the survey, but I would think that adds to the practical difficulty. You can't build within that envelope. You can have a driveway go through that envelope, but you can't build on that envelope. So the irregular shaped lot plus the existence of the creek plus and the easement plus the existence of the floodplain or floodway adds a uniqueness and a practical difficulty to this particular parcel of real property. And you can go down Jackman Road and see accessory buildings on the west side of Giant Oak Golf Course that are actually in the front yard of those buildings because their frontage is on Jackman Road, but they gain access from Erie Road. So that's kind of an example of their houses face a golf course. They consider that to be the front yard, but technically the front yard is on the Jackman Road side. So it's similar to what you were saying.
Any other discussion or maybe more thoughts on practical difficulties?
I think we got them locked down for practical difficulties.
And if we're ready, if anyone's prepared to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead. Steal my thunder.
Oh, you had your turn. Come on.
I'll make a motion that we approve the variance to allow an accessory building in the front yard on parcel number 5802-029-009-02 to allow the accessory building to be in the front yard. Practical difficulties due to the floodway in the creek and the way the lot is positioned.
We have a motion. Is there support?
I'd support, as Mr. Helm stated.
All right, Ms. Rector?
Yes, Mr. Helm.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Dersch.
Aye.
Mr. Gore.
Aye.
Mr. Lake.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. Good luck, Mr. Simon. All right, we'll move on to public comments. Seeing there is none, we'll skip that. We're going to go to board and staff comments.
Next meeting is going to be October 3rd. Today was the deadline, and we will be having a meeting. That's all I have. Have a good evening.
Nothing for me. Thank you.
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Have nothing?
Good.
Nothing on my end.
Nothing for me. Thanks.
Nope, have a great evening.
Thanks, everybody. Meeting adjourned.